When people talk about retirement, the advice hasn't changed in decades. Save $1 million, invest wisely, and you'll be fine. That comes from the 4% rule. The idea that if you retire with $1 million portfolio, you can safely withdraw $40,000 each year without running out of money. But what happens if your retirement plan isn't measured in dollars? What if it's measured in Bitcoin? That's where things get interesting. Let's start with the near term. By 2030, many analysts project Bitcoin could reach around $450,000 to $500,000 per coin. At that price, one Bitcoin would give you about $20,000 a year using the 4% rule. 2 Bitcoin, about $1 million, would give $40,000 a year, and 5 Bitcoin would provide $100,000 annually. Even in this conservative scenario, a small stack could cover a modest retirement. Moving ahead to 2035, projections get much bigger. Finder's expert panel and even some institutional models suggest Bitcoin could be worth around $1 million per coin. At that level, 1 Bitcoin would provide $40,000 a year. 2 Bitcoin would cover $80,000 annually, and 5 Bitcoin could fund $200,000 a year. By this point, fractions of a coin, say 0.5 BTC, might be enough for a middle-class lifestyle. By 2040, some forecasts stretch far higher. Fidelity has floated scenarios where Bitcoin could climb into the tens or even hundreds of millions if it matures into a true global reserve asset. A more balanced estimate is $5 million to $20 million per coin. At those prices, even 0.1 Bitcoin would be worth $500,000 to $2 million, enough to provide $20,000 to $80,000 a year in retirement income. 1 Bitcoin could pay out $200,000 to $800,000 annually, and 2 Bitcoin could generate $400,000 to $1 million a year. Suddenly, even fractions of a coin are enough to secure financial freedom. Looking even further to 2050, some visionaries, like Hal Finney, imagine Bitcoin reaching $50 million or more per coin. If that happens, a tenth of a Bitcoin, just 0.1 BTC, would be worth $5 million and yield $200,000 a year under the 4% rule. 1 Bitcoin would provide $2 million every year, and 2 Bitcoin would mean $4 million annually without ever touching the principal. At that level, even tiny amounts of Bitcoin, just a few million Satoshis, would make someone financially independent for life. So, how much Bitcoin do you really need to retire? By 2030, you might need 2 to 5 BTC to secure a comfortable lifestyle. By 2035, 1 to 2 BTC could be enough. By 2040, even 0.1 to 1 BTC could deliver financial freedom. And by 2050, fractions of a coin could provide generational wealth. The lesson is clear. You don't need to be a whale. Thanks to Bitcoin's scarcity and its long-term trajectory, every fraction counts. Your retirement may not depend on how many dollars you've saved. It may depend on how much Bitcoin you've stacked before the rest of the world catches on.